Hi, I'm George Pearson, and in this CorelDRAW video, we'll be tracing this image here to convert it from a bitmap image into a vector graphic. These are just three different sizes and resolutions of this same image. If you want to work along with this video, you can find these in a download, and there's a link for that right down there in the description. Now, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you click that like button, and of course click on share and share with your friends. To find my complete CorelDRAW training courses, there's a link for that right down there in the description. Okay, let's get to it. For this trace project, we'll be using this bitmap graphic. These are PNG files. This one is at about 1,000 pixels tall, and it's at 300 pixels per inch. This one is about 500 pixels tall. This one's about 250 pixels tall. This is at 300 pixels, and this is at 72 pixels. Now, either of these two will work okay for a trace, but the larger the image, the better trace you're going to be getting. So we'll be working with this for the demonstration. This one down here, as you can see, it's real jagged. If I scroll in on this, it'd be almost impossible to get a good trace out of this. So you need to make sure you have a good image to work with, good image to start with, to get a good quality trace. Now, you could still do something down here with this. I still could convert this over into a vector graphic, but I wouldn't bother with the trace function. I just go in and then hand do this using the standard drawing tools here inside of CorelDRAW and recreate this right on top of this one. That'd be your best bet for something that's this low of resolution. Now, both of these, again, you can get a good trace from either one of these. These would be okay. Let's take a look at the difference. If I pull this over here, get it real close, there we are, and I can just zoom in on the edge here. And you can see on the edges, we're really zoomed in, that this is a bit fuzzier in here, a bit more jagged in here. It's a bit smoother here, not quite as fuzzy. Now, notice this kind of a grayness that you're seeing here. That's a bit of the anti-aliasing on the bitmap to make it look like a nice, smooth, clean edge. And depending upon the level of detail that you're going to be converting this in, you might get a solid color here with a light gray outline or halo around it in there. So that's one of those little problems. So the larger the image, the less of that haloing effect that you may get. Okay, let's just zoom back out again. And let's put this one right there. So larger is better, always. You also want to get the highest resolution possible. This one's at 300, which is just fine for this. You can get higher resolution, go ahead and get a higher resolution as well. Now, it's going to be automatically removing the background color from the trace. So if you have something inside that's the same color as the background, like the head is in here, you need to make sure that there is complete separation of this color from your background, in this case white from white. And that means that this border here, this outline, needs to be solid. In this case, this is a solid outline, but if there happens to be a gap in there, and that frequently happens on line drawings, you'll find gaps and stuff. It's very artistic looking, but it makes for a difficult trace. So if you have any gaps, like maybe there'd be a gap over here where the head comes over near the ear, there'd be a likely spot for a gap in something a bit more artistic, or a gap down here. If you see gaps like that, you want to take your bitmap and fix those gaps. Easy to do. Just right-click on the bitmap, click on Edit Bitmap. This will then open up Photo Paint, and in Photo Paint we could fill in that gap very easily. And there's the Photo Paint. Let's just bring that full size, and we'll zoom in a bit on this. So let's just say you had a gap right up here. Simply use your eyedropper tool, grab that color. There it is, that's your foreground color. Grab your paintbrush, adjust your brush size, that's actually pretty close, and then just paint in to fill in that gap. So just check your boundaries, make sure you don't have any gaps like that showing. Click on Finish Editing, and then close down Photo Paint. There we go. And now we're back in here, and you'll see that repair once you come back in again. So make sure you check for anything like that that might cause problems on the trace. All right, let's go ahead and do the trace. I'm going to get rid of these. Let's just click on Delete on that one and Delete on that one. So left with just this one image. So for the trace, click it to select it. Easy to see. Just of course look for your little squares outside there showing that the image has been selected. Go up to Bitmaps and come down here to Outline Trace. There's a lot of options in here: line art, logo, detailed logo, clip art, low quality, high quality. We're doing a clip art image, so clip art is most likely the best choice, but you can actually change between these once you have opened up the dialog box anyway. A couple of other ones here. We have a center line trace. This is for technical stuff, for line drawings. Not for this kind of illustration, but for actual line drawing. So we'll use the outline trace, and we'll start off with the clip art. Now, one of these other ones may give us a better option, and I'll show you how to check that while we're in here in the clip art section. Go ahead and click on clip art. There we go. Now, the first thing you'll see, let me see if I can enlarge this a bit. There we go. It comes in at a default size, which may be too small for you depending upon your screen size. Okay, to stretch that out, just go to the bottom right-hand corner. There we go. Now here's the trace. This is using the default settings in here for the clip art image type right there, clip art. There's the original, and here's the trace. You can zoom in or out up here. The hand allows you to move things around, and this puts things back to their default. So I'm going to click on the plus zoom, and we'll just zoom in. Notice how both of these zoom at the same time. And we'll take a look at the edges on this. Once you're zoomed in, you can then click on the hand tool right here and then move that around. Now these dash or these kind of stripe lines, don't worry about that. That just means that that color is currently selected over here in the colors section. If I click on that, there's our colors. That one is selected. So that's what we're seeing that. If I click something else here, you'll see how that stripe changes to that one. That means that just that color is currently selected. So again, don't worry about those stripes. Those won't be in the trace. Now, it looks like we're pretty good here. Nice clean edges. Now you notice that the preview here actually is kind of a bitmap style preview. If I zoom in enough, you'll see that there's some bitmap kind of roughness on these edges. Don't worry about that. That's just the preview window. It actually does the trace when we click on OK down here, and the final will be nice and clean on those edges. So a little bit jaggy, don't worry about that here. Let me just really zoom in tight so you can see exactly what I'm talking about here. Just clicking in. There you go. See how it has kind of a bitmap look to it in here? Don't worry about that. That goes away when you click the OK. This is the original up here. See, it's even more pixelated here. So this is just what the preview window looks like. Okay, to zoom out, click on the minus magnifier and zoom out. You can't click too fast. It doesn't seem to recognize or realize those clicks. So just click slowly to zoom back out again. Now we didn't lose the head in here because we made sure that there was nothing blocked or no gaps in there. So we had a nice clean selection in here on the head. Now notice the ear up here. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit back to our zoom in tool. Just a few clicks there, and go to the hand tool again. Notice this nice gradient up here in the ear, and we have these solid block colors. Again, those little stripe lines, that's just because that color is currently selected over here. Ignore those stripes. That will be a solid color. Now, this shows you one problem here with the trace. It won't trace and give you gradients. So if you have gradients in your original image, you'll have to repair that after we do the trace. Easy to do though. We can take care of that. Now, this is selected up here. If I pull this down, notice the nose also is selected, so we have a common color in there. Let's see if there's anything like that in the feet. Nope, those are separate. But again, gradients in here and solid colors down there. We'll fix that on the final image. Notice something else also. This is all solid over here. And it's kind of the same color as this outline. Over here, the ear is a lot darker. But if you look at the original, in the original, the left ear actually is darker than the right ear. So this being darker is correct, but this being the same color as that outline is not correct. You can see a separation of the colors right in here. That means we don't have enough colors in this trace. So here's our settings. We're looking at clip art, and if we go to colors, it gives us 9 colors. If I click up here, 9 is as far as it will go if we're in the clip art setting. To get more colors in here, that's where you may want to change your image type. Let's go here to line art, and this gives us very small number of colors. There's 8 colors in there, so there's fewer colors as you can see there. Let's go to Logo. Right down here is the little progress bar. Notice we now have more colors in here, and we're now seeing a separation between that outline and this ear. So we got a separation in there. If we go back to our colors, we now have 12 colors. So it's giving us a better separation, better color choice in here with the 12 colors. Back to our settings. Let's go to Detailed Logo. Again, it takes a moment to refigure. We have more steps in here, and again, a bit better separation from the ear to that boundary. So you need to check your image, make sure you're getting good separations. It won't be perfect match to everything in here, but it will be really close. Now with the detailed logo, we have 45 colors. If I click the up button, that's as high as it goes. That's as much as I can get here on the detailed logo. There's your clip art. There's your low quality image. Well, let's go ahead, we'll do that one. Let it figure that out. There it is. On this one, we have 14 colors as our maximum. And let's do a high quality image. Let it figure that one out. There we go. Notice it's a lot more colors down here. It's almost a gradient at this point. We're almost seeing a gradient in there. So that's actually pretty good. Let's check our colors. That's 58 colors. Mostly, as you can see here, it's mostly that gradient is that color choice that we're getting. We don't need it that high. All we need is a good separation between the outline here and that ear right in there. We'll be redoing this gradient later on. If you like that, if that's okay for you, then go ahead, do it this way, and you're done. If you want to have a nice clean gradient like this, again, we'll do that after the fact. Let's change this back here. And I think I liked that detailed logo pretty well. Let's take a look at that one. Let it figure. Okay, there's good separation in there. So you can have a different color from the ear, and that looks pretty good. Let me try the logo. Let it refigure, and that's even a better separation. I like that color choice it made in there. So there's a good separation between this piece and the outline, and that's nice. So I think we're okay on that. Little line right in here on the eyes. You can kind of see that up here. It's darker up here, but it's still there. You can see it in here. That's fine. Looks good. Okay, I think we're looking okay now on the basic settings. On the smoothing, sometimes this will help out on your edges. So you can bring in more smoothing to smooth your edges down. Detail, of course, will give you more detail, more of these separations in here. If you have real fine details, real fine points, the detail can sometimes help. It's often a balancing act between these two. On corner smoothness, I found sometimes by bringing it up just a little bit, like about 1, sometimes that helps just a little bit down here. I normally don't do too much on the corner smoothness. Let's zoom in just a bit here and take a look at these edges and make sure that we're looking okay. And it's got a nice square here, nice square there, nice point in there. I think detail-wise we're okay. Let me just show you what happens. I'm going to pull detail way down. And notice how we also lose our color separation in there when I pull the detail down too far. Let's go about 2/3 or 3/4 of the way up, and I now see that separation of colors right in there. Let's go a little bit higher. A little better separation. Again, ignore these lines in here. That's just because that color is currently selected in the Colors tab. So that will be a solid color. Okay, it's good separation now between these two colors. That's what I care about in here. Let's go clear to the top on this. And not really improved that much. So I'm going to pull it back just a bit. There's 96. Looks okay. You can even type a number in here. I'll type in 90. Hit the Enter key. And that still looks fine. Okay, so 90 is fine in there. So that's all looking good. Everything else looks good. Again, don't worry about that softness in there. That goes away once we do the actual trace. Let's now zoom back out. I'm going to put it back to fit in window. That's his first magnifier right there. Fit in window. Nice trace. We'll take care of the ears and this stuff if you want to after we go ahead and do the trace. So a little bit of smoothing, a lot of detail. Usually settings around here works out pretty well. Okay, remove background color automatically. That's the default. You can choose to have no background color removed, remove color from the entire image, remove the same color from the entire image. We don't want that either. That would then lose our white in here. Merge adjacent colors, that's a good thing to have on. Remove overlap, that means that these colors, like these banding in here, these will be right next to each other as shapes, and we'll see that in just a bit. Delete original. Now what happens is when we go ahead and trace this, this will be sitting on top of that. If I chose to delete the original, this wouldn't be underneath. I never do that because I want to compare once I have the trace finished. So I never check this one. Okay, go over here to colors. These are the colors that it has chosen in here. If you want to, you can merge colors together. Just click on a color like this dark red here. Hold the shift key down, click on another color. These are now two selected. It's kind of hard to see. There's a little bit lighter or brighter outline around those two. Click on merge. Those two then merge together. Now that got rid of one of our steps in the ear, and that's fine. We'll be fixing that anyway. So if you want to, you can use this and merge some colors together to make more solid areas. And that might be a good idea if you're putting back in a gradient. Just don't merge something to something else where you want to keep that specific color, like in that nose right here, little highlight. Of course, we can always change our colors once we're over into CorelDRAW again. No problem. Color mode, you can choose different color modes in here if you want to. Here's a grayscale color mode. It just pulls the color out. Everything else stays the same. Notice it actually changes our numbers in here. Let's put that back to the RGB, which is what I'll be using. There we go. And you can sort by frequency or similarity. There's frequency sort, and there's a similarity sort. It just changes how you're looking at this. No big deal on that. Back to settings over here on this side. Everything looks good. We're now ready to go ahead and do the trace. Click on OK. And notice that we just got those little squares popped up again, and we're now seeing that banding in there. So this is the trace. Let's now pull this over here. See, there's the nice outlines. Let go. There's the trace. There's the original. It did a real nice job on this. And this may be all you need. If you don't care about the gradient up here, you're done and you're ready to go. Actually works out fine down here in the feet. That looks okay. This doesn't need the gradient, so I would actually go with this one. But if you want that gradient, that's pretty easy to fix. We're going to zoom in. Just use the scroll wheel here, and let's just compare the edges first. So there we are. There is the original left-hand side, and there's our trace on the right-hand side. Nice clean trace. Of course, the reason to do a nice clean trace, the main reason is that we can then change the size of this to any size you want, even billboard size, and it'll be just as clean. Obviously, I can't change the size of a bitmap image without getting really bad pixelation. You can go smaller pretty easily, but it's hard to go much larger than the current image size. Okay, so there's our nice image. Let's now take a look at the ear. I'll do this one up here. Same technique for all of these. Let's just zoom in. There it is. Now, at this point, we need to ungroup this. Everything is grouped together as a group. So, right-click and choose Ungroup. Click outside to deselect. Come back in, click on something. If you see it coming in as a separate piece like that, then we know we have ungrouped that correctly. Now what I want is I want this color here, and I want this color out here, and we'll be doing a gradient between those colors. So let's first grab those colors. Grab the eyedropper, click inside, and that puts that color down here to the document palette. That's up here. Add to palette is what happens when we do that. Let's go back to the standard eyedropper tool, select a color, and let's just choose right in here. That's that dark red. And then click it once again, and then that will be in the palette. There it is right there. So we now have our two colors right in here between those two. Okay, let's go back to the pick tool, and now let's get rid of the excess stuff in here. Just hit delete. Now notice that these shapes are sitting on top of the background. So as I click, there's that whole shape, has a hole in the middle. Delete that, and we're seeing the background through that. Okay, click on that one. All you want is what's left out here. Maybe you just undo because of this, that kind of little thing right down there. I'll leave these two together. Let's merge these together. Click on the outside one, hold the shift key down, click on the inside. So these are now both selected, and let's go up here and then weld those together into one shape. That's fine. We now need to get rid of this hole. We can do that by moving over here to the shape tool. And if I pull a selection box around like that, I can grab a whole bunch of those and then just delete, and let's just get rid of those points. Let's get a few more right in there, and the delete key. And then the last one, let's do right click and delete. There we go. So we got rid of that hole, and we're left with just this shape. Now all we have to do is go over here, grab the interactive fill, click in the middle and pull out like that, and put a fill in here. Let's change this to a radial fill. There it is. And let's put this back to the center point again. Let's change that center point. Grab the eyedropper, and I want that light color. There it is. And then close that. Let's go up to this one. Bring our colors up, eyedropper, and click on our dark one down there from the palette. And there it is. There is our fill. We can then adjust the shape and size of this to fit pretty easily in here. And that's pretty close. There we go. Little adjustment on that. Looks good. Back to the pick tool, and there's our nice gradient. But this time the gradient is a vector graphic gradient and not a bitmap gradient. So this gradient will also enlarge perfectly. So that's all taken care of. Let's just move over here just a little bit. So there's the original ear, and here it is with our new gradient. The same technique will work with all of those different spots. Let's just back to fit screen and zoom in just a touch. So I could use the same trick down here for this ear and the spots on the feet if I wanted to. It's up to you if you want to leave it simplified or put your gradient back in again. That's how you solve the gradient issue. So there we go. That is how to do a trace of a bitmap, and going over here to a nice vector graphic here inside of CorelDRAW. If you liked this video, make sure you hit that like button, and of course share with your friends. Just click on share and share through social media. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so, and take a look at my complete training course for CorelDRAW, and there's a link right down there in the description.